It is my pleasure to welcome you all today to Local Search in 2023 Must Know and Must Do Tactics. My name is Eric Newton. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at Milestone, and I'm happy to tell you about the agenda for today. We're going to do a quick introduction of Milestone. We are going to introduce our esteemed panel of speakers, talk about top local trends in 22 and 23, touch on best practices, and then hyperlocal and local marketing plan. So Milestone drives online discovery with its digital marketing platform and solutions. We've been around a while. We've got 2,000 plus customers that we manage and serve. We've won a lot of awards this year, so I'm really proud to be part of this team that's been recognized by Search Engine Land and the HSMAI Adrians and CMS Wire for our service. So if there's anything we can do for you, do let us know. You can talk to us in the chat, and we'll have contact information at the end. And you got a lot of emails from us. You reply to those emails, you can reach my team. The Milestone solution, the core of the Milestone solution is an SEO first and discovery first CMS. That CMS has that CMS and omnichannel solution has four primary areas of production. The CMS, the schema manager, FAQ manager, local, and reviews. Plus we have a full suite of marketing, of performance marketing and design. So however much or little service somebody needs, if you're independent, you can use these platforms to run these functions on your own, or we can help you do it. Just a small sample of logos across the bottom of companies that we do business with. And again, if there's anything we can do for you, do let us know. Our panel today is made up of Greg Sterling. He's a co-founder at Near Media. Joy Hawkins is a founder at Sterling Sky. Mike Blumenthal is a co-founder at Near Media, and all three of these people are titans of local search. And Banu and I are so proud to present them to you because these are our go-to people for when we're figuring out, the best path forward. And they're wonderful networking colleagues to know because of their depth of knowledge and their experience. And our fourth speaker today is going to be Banu Agarwal, who's also a founder. So if you look at this panel of speakers and talent, four people who have founded their own companies. So I'm going to switch over to Greg. Greg, and you're off.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Thanks, Banu, for having me, and thanks to my co-panelists for participating in this. My role here is really to kind of set the stage for some of the tactical discussion and insights that Joy and Mike are going to provide. And I'm going to do a quick review of what happened in 2022 and some things to think about in 2023, and they're going to get into much more specific detail. So what happened in local in 2022 is too much for me to talk to you about in 10 minutes. There was a ton of stuff. Joy has a great page on her, well, it's more than a single page on her site that I put the URL for right there. And it gives a kind of week by week, very detailed update of Google GBP in particular in local search. I'm going to do what I think is much more like a highlights reel and kind of talk about the psychology of Google and why I think it's doing some of the things that it's doing. And Google is confronting a kind of storm of, I won't call it a perfect storm, of a number of different things. I think there's a lot of discontent about the quality of search results. Some of its rivals are gaining in adoption, and I'm going to talk about TikTok and Amazon in particular. And there's a growing spam problem in organic and in LSAs, in reviews, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Mike will talk more about that, or he'll talk about reviews in particular. So Google, what is Google trying to do in response to these things? It's trying to boost search quality. It's trying to address some of the features and issues that rivals have brought to the fore. It's trying to make search much more useful and ambient, multimodal, as the picture illustrates. It's using more machine learning and AI in the background to improve its algorithm, natural language understanding, computer vision for photographs. It's jettisoning things that don't work for Google. That's not necessarily true for users. And the GBP dashboard and GMB app are examples of that. And then sort of at the macro level, it's dealing with a lot of regulation and privacy issues. So as I just mentioned, the GMB app went away and the GBP dashboard has gone away. And now we have this new merchant experience, which a lot of people are ambivalent about or don't like. And so that's something that I'm sure all you guys have some experience with. Many SEOs are quite frustrated with that experience. Some people, I think it's okay. TikTok in particular got a lot of attention in I think it was late in the third quarter when Prabhakar Raghavan, who's in charge of search and ads for Google now, said 40% of younger users are going to Instagram or TikTok to find restaurants. And here's an illustration of that. This was a picture that was provided by Mike, contact that Mike had. So people talking about finding restaurants on TikTok. And it's true that younger users are finding alternatives to Google because they're frustrated with certain aspects of Google, which we can talk about later. Search in general is becoming more visual, and with video integrating into search more and more frequently as Google tries to compete with TikTok and as they want to provide more opportunities for user engagement. Joy will talk about those things. Amazon has long been the leader in product search, and Google is trying to claw back market share by doing a whole bunch of things with product search and different elements of the product search experience. Google Lens, visual search, augmented reality integrated into search results, product sort of 360-degree views, an emphasis on local inventory. They're trying to get both big box retailers and smaller stores to upload their inventory. There's been free listings happened late in 2021, I think. But they're doing lots of different things to try and claw back share from Amazon. In-store inventory is really interesting because that has long been something that consumers have been interested in, and much more recently, Google has been emphasizing that. And now they seem to have made it I don't want to call it a ranking factor, that we can debate what that means, but they have included it in the list of things that will improve your visibility and ranking on Google if you input your inventory, if you upload your inventory. And increasingly, as people search for particular products, Google is surfacing local inventory in the local pack. This is an example of a search for camera lenses. So they're explicitly telling people to upload their inventory, and this is part of their competitive strategy with Amazon. They want to be the single place where you can find e-commerce and local products. And that's a pretty good strategy. Small businesses have trouble with inventory, but we're seeing more and more live inventory show up on Google. There were a lot of algorithm updates this year, in particular, the helpful content update, spam updates, product review updates, and then of course, core updates. But the helpful content update is designed to really address some of the quality problems. There's a lot of discussion about Google results are crap, the old Google is gone, Google's just trying to over monetize the SERP. And so there's too much spam, too much SEO optimized content. Google is trying to address some of those complaints with the helpful content update to try and make results more authoritative, more credible, trustworthy. And they have said explicitly that content created for SEO or SEO first content is going to be disfavored. The quality raters guidelines were updated to include a new element, experience. This is also about overall search quality and getting people to really pay much more attention to the content, the authoritativeness of the content that they're generating. And that runs right into the whole AI discussion, which I'll mention later, and Joy will also talk about. On visual search, Google has really been putting an enormous emphasis here. Part of this is because of AI and their computer vision capabilities, but they're also responding to younger users who are using Instagram, using TikTok, and they're trying to put more visual content in search results, answer more questions with visual information. So you see multi-search near me illustrated on the left, AR in maps in the center, and then AR in terms of a 360-degree product view, part of product search on the right. And that's Jerry Dishler, who said, the VP of ads, who said, we're transforming the SERP into an endless stream of visual ideas, which I think is just a kind of an amusing comment, but also really reflective of what's going on there. There's just enormous emphasis on visual information, search by image and video. Voice search, which had been the subject of enormous hype for years and years, has kind of flatlined. That doesn't mean that people aren't using it, doesn't mean that people aren't using virtual assistants. People use voice all the time. It's really a critical feature of smartphones and other devices, but it has sort of plateaued, and there's evidence of that in multiple studies. And Amazon just laid off a big portion of the group that is responsible for Echo devices and Alexa, although they've said that they're totally committed to Alexa. So it's important, but it's not going to be driving 50% of search or whatever the stat was that people thought was a ComScore stat, but was attributable to somebody else. So I realize I'm racing through this, but just trying to get through a lot of information quickly. Review trust and review moderation, huge issue for everybody, multi-location brands, individual businesses, everybody who manages reputation on behalf of local businesses. Google, for various reasons, has started to be much more aggressive in its review moderation. Mike will get into that in much more detail. We think there's a new algorithm that is AI-based. Part of this may be because of new content rules in Europe, and Google is sort of preparing to be subject to those. And what we have now with reviews is a kind of paradoxical situation where consumers seem more reliant on reviews, but also are more distrustful because they've seen more review spam, and they're using multiple sites to confirm the veracity of reviews that they see on any individual site. And a lot of younger users are frustrated with having to wade through a lot of reviews and content on the SERP, as I mentioned. So they're going to sites like TikTok, where they can see an individual who's making a recommendation, or they can see images of a place, and that to them is a more expedient solution than going through a lot of text-based content. This year also, this year being 2022, this last year, the FTC killed review gating and said you cannot selectively publish reviews and suppress other reviews. And they warned some of the reputation platforms not to facilitate that. Lots of spam and fraud in reviews, which I referenced, and Mike will talk a little bit about spam and listings. This is a chart on the right by Joy that shows the incidence of fake listings by industry in the SERP, and LSAs, which is a whole discussion unto itself. Increasingly, we're seeing fake listings and review spam in LSAs. Privacy, huge issue, which I don't need to get into. Google and other big tech companies are dealing with this. The whole landscape of ads is really shifting, and data collection is really shifting to an opt-in scenario. We're not there yet in the US, but it is definitely, that's what we're looking at in Europe. Looking ahead, just a couple more slides to 2023. As I mentioned, two major acts, the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act, are really going to put pressure on tech companies to not favor their own products, their own content, and also to fight illegal content, quote unquote, and disinformation, which is going to include fake reviews in Europe. And these have implications for the global SERP, because they may bifurcate, and you may see different North American and European SERPs, but you may see Google and Facebook and others do things consistent across geographies. In the anti-self-preferencing category, we may see a kind of reduction in prominence of the local PAC, and there was some fluctuation this year from a low of 36 to a high of 42% of cases where the local PAC was showing up, which is different from user intent, much higher incidence of user intent for local information than local PACs being shown. And then last two slides, AI. Everybody on this webinar knows how exciting / concerning / interesting the whole AI ChatGPT phenomenon is, and all the different use cases that are bubbling up, including integration into search. This is a Neva search result, but Bing is going to integrate AI in some fashion, and probably it's inevitable that Google will do something similar. My final slide, a bunch of things to think about for the future. I'm not going to read all of these bullets because I'm out of time, but AI, local pack, well, I'm starting to read them. I won't read them. You can read them yourself and you can go over them again. If you have any questions, you're welcome to email me, gsterling@nearmedia.co, and hopefully I'll provide that in the chat window.
Actually, next up is Mike. That was a fantastic presentation, Greg.
Oh, I'm
we
sorry.
appreciate that. Mike Blumenthal, your partner, is going next.
I want to talk about Google's aggressive implementation of AI in local, both in terms of proving search results in local and also in terms of moderation. If you look at the local SERPs over the last 6 years, you can see a massive change in the visual aspect of them, with increasing amounts of space given up to images. And you have to ask yourself, why is Google doing this? And Google's a company that tests every change in the SERPs. And if they find that the change is successful, they then roll it out to everybody. And one of the changes that has been successful is the inclusion of still imagery in the search results. And we are only now just seeing the beginnings of video imagery being included in the search results, at least in local. And so one has to assume that at least up to this point, still imagery has played a bigger role for them in local. It's to the point where I actually printed out a large multi-scroll screen and measured the number of pixels on the screen, and 36% of it were images, and that was the largest percentage of allocation of space on the screen. It even surpassed the organic sort of results and the white space that the organic results included. So it's the largest allocation of space. Google doesn't waste their homepage space. They leverage it for maximum benefit of the user and maximum internal profit. So you have to assume that this is intentional, and Google is doing it not just because it's what users want, because it gives them a competitive advantage. They have been uploaded to them through Google Photos, for example, 4 trillion images. They get 28 billion images a week new through Google Photos, and many of those photos are tagged, which becomes a great training set for them to use in their AI as they move their image recognition into the search product. The way you can see this happening is that on searches with strong purchase intent, Google will literally shift out the images in the pack to match the searcher intent. So on the example search on the left, engagement rings, for Barbara Oliver at the bottom of the pack, you see an engagement ring showing, and on pearl earrings, you see a pearl earring showing. I mean, Google understands the content of these images and modifies the search results to reflect it. And so the takeaway from this slide is that you need multiple images in your Google business profile of each product and service category that you want to highlight. It's also the same in organic search results. Google is changing out the results of the pages based on the query and based on their understanding of the image from the website. And this understanding comes from the context on the website and the content of the image, not from alt information or file names. Google gave up on that, I think, to some extent. They may still use it. Not only, though, do they understand the image, they categorize the image in such a way that they are now showing subcategories of product in the search results. So the takeaway from this is that you need not just one engagement ring, but engagement rings in every category that Google is generating for results. So in this, Greg mentioned this quote. I wanted to demonstrate what it means in practice for them to be transforming the SERPs. The SERPs are very dynamic now with expanding carousels. The organics aren't just one image, but it could be one image, it could be 3 images, could be 5 images. There's all sorts of new universal search results that are very image-based and don't use text at all, including order food and find by photos. And you will also see they're starting to include in here videos. This is first time I've seen this, where they're actually including snippets of TikTok videos in the search results. And if you add a video, a 30-second video to your Google My Business profile, on Google Maps, when you see that listing, that video will move to position 2 and be quite animated in the results. So they're starting, they understand as much about videos conceptually and contextually as they do about still images, and they're starting to include them in search results, but still not happening. So, okay, so how do I get out of, okay. So when you take images to be used in local or on the website, you have to make a choice. You know, which image of pancakes should I use with my restaurant? The issue these days, though, goes beyond just what you think is a good image and what the user thinks is a good image into what Google thinks is a good image. This falls into what I call semantic photography, the idea that images can now include objects and entities in a way that Google understands, and that can then be reflected back in the search results. The net of that is that you need to have images that not only you like, not only does your customer like, the searcher, but that Google understands is an image of what it is you want to portray. In this example of pancakes, the one on the left, which looks more luscious, is not the one that Google thinks is about pancakes. They think it's about fruit. So to do that, Google has an API that they make available. If you want to test this, you can go to this URL, cloud.google.com/vision, drop a few in to see how Google understands them. But the upshot of this, whether you do this through their API in an automated way or you do it manually, is that every image that you want Google to understand, and I think they need to understand all of them the way you intend them, should be tested prior to inclusion on your web or in your GPB. Some of the images Google doesn't like: stock photography. They know where every image is in these stock libraries. They can tell you with their API that this image is on 3,000 websites. But it's not just because Google doesn't like it, it's because real photography converts better. There's a lot of research out, which I linked on this page, to the impact where people literally ignore stock photographs on a page, scroll right by it. But the statistic from Joy, I think, is more critical. She did a case study on this, where when she converted Google posts from stock imagery to custom imagery, they got a 4x increase in conversions. And that's historically what you will see. So the use of stock, even at a large multiple location store, is really no longer ideal. There was this great research that came out of Airbnb where they programmed their computers, their AI, to understand the elements of a great photograph: the rule of thirds, balance in the image, color and exposure in images. They then ran that against a number of thousands of listings that had professional and non-professional images and calculated the net impact. They found that a 17% increase in demand and a per rental unit increase in rentals of $2,500 per year. A huge ROI if you consider that even at retail, bringing a photographer into a single location is only going to cost $300 for an hour or two of shoots. So it makes sense. It's not that Google understands what great images are and that what professional images are, and it's worth the investment to do that. Here's a case study that came out of Patient Pop, which is a large dental and medical marketing firm. And what they converted all of their web images and all of their Google business profile images from stock to professional imagery, tracked the transactions all the way through to the appointments, and not considering lifetime value, found that they saw, in a fairly large scale test of similar locations, they saw 11% increase all the way through the funnel but particularly in appointments. So that doesn't count for the increased lifetime value of those. So we see huge returns from great photography. So, but there's a double-edged sword in Google's use of AI. It brings better search results, more relevant search results, but Google has implemented AI in local to help moderate these images. Here are some examples of images I came across that you should look at from left to right on the top. It's a plumber's thumbs up when he got the sink flowing, 3 old farts similar to me doing a podcast, some young women playing water polo, a model, a masseuse, a dog, a man exercising, and a somewhat less risque image of a masseuse. And you look at that and you think, well, how would Google assess these in an AI first moderation system? And the sad reality of this is they rejected all of these images as either too racy or, in the case of a dog, as a spoof. Now, it's hard to understand how an image of a thumb or an image of young women playing water polo can be considered too racy, but you have to understand that that AI has false positives. That is where they identify objects as spam or inappropriate when they aren't. And you can
Mike,
see
time check here, 2 minutes left.
Great. So you can see this image was dropped in too racy, go figure. But this has social implications. This was the Oklahoma Observer. They dropped a political cartoon in. It was rejected by Google. Google didn't say why. They don't give you any feedback. They just reject them. Turned out this image was too racy as well. So a couple tidbits here. Don't reuse images. These are new rules. Don't use text, proper exposure, no creative filters, limit blurriness, and check all these images. And there are a few bugs in this process. So if it doesn't work first time, come back 48 hours. After you've eliminated the first 6, come back 48 hours later, try again. The images need to reflect reality. But they're applying this same sort of bizarre logic, sometimes bizarre logic, in reviews. We noticed in the forums that complaints about reviews skyrocketed. I track the complaints every month. Right around March is when it started, and you can see it's gone up every month since. So what I did was I found from August through the end of November, it helped people 300 small businesses deal with their missing reviews. And we found that Google wasn't applying their algorithm equally across categories: real estate, home services, home construction, marketing, design. All of these were impacted more than sort of traditional bricks and mortar. We also found that the issue of missing reviews occurs much more frequently with younger listings. You can see a power curve here. As the listing ages, you get many fewer complaints. That being said, part of that is because it's applied to all new listings, but only being applied to old listings sort of on a rolling basis. So you can anticipate that you might see some review losses from this new algorithm. It also turned out that almost all of these businesses were asking for results or asking for reviews, so that you can sort of model this understanding of the review algorithm as a probabilistic AI, where it needs a certain combination of attributes for it to kick in. But it not only can shut off an individual review, it can shut off a location's ability to get reviews, and it can shut off whole categories. So in that sense, the good news is it's better at sussing out review attacks, but it generates a lot of false positives. Google, if you report it to their support, says, oh, it's working as intended. These reviews violated something or other. The reality is the review probably didn't. It's probably a false positive. And only by reporting them via the forums, whether missing or fakes, can you have any action legitimately being taken. So the upshot of all this, to-dos for 2023, great images are the key, both on the web and GPP. These images should be updated regularly. We see uptick when you do in conversions and visibility. You need multiple images for each product and service. They have to be images that Google understands and great for the user, that comply with Google's rules. With reviews, you want to go slow when you're asking, particularly with new listings. You want to start to minimize your reliance on Google reviews by using first-party reviews or other review sites. And you want to download all of your reviews every week or every month. So if some go missing, you can report them in the forum, because Google will only recover reviews that they know the username and the content of. So just a note, you can get a white paper on this visual, the impact of visual search if you subscribe at nearmedia.co/subscribe. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the poll.
Thanks, Mike. I feel smarter already. All right, we're going to launch a poll right now, and we'd like you guys to participate in the poll. Just a quick question. What is your highest priority initiative for local marketing in 2023? Experience, engagement, consistency, or conversions? I'll give you guys about 15 seconds to pick an answer. Be great if at least half of the audience jumped in here. And I'm sure you guys are having good chats away. If you guys have any questions, a specific question, you can load that into the Q&A, or if you put it in the chat, somebody on the team will put it up for you. All right, let's close the poll now, and let's share the answers. What's everybody working on? Business, getting more business. Nope, I understand. All right, I'm going to close this. Joy, if you click your mouse once, I think you'll be able to advance the slides. There you go.
All right, so I'm going to go through a few tactical items of just things that I would suggest focusing on this year, just based to kind of some of the overall trends that some of which have already been mentioned. But I broke it up into 3 different categories. So first, I want to talk a bit about videos. Video search is something that local businesses are very behind on. So it's pretty uncommon to find any small business that's even doing videos, and big corporations that have a lot of like local presence tend to do these, but do them wrong, right? So you see a lot of commercials, very produced, kind of unauthentic types of videos, which is not really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, the local plumber, the local tree business, the lawyer, doing videos that actually answer some of the questions that they have content about. You see these websites that have tons of content, tons of pages, but no videos to match. And one of the things that I would encourage SEOs and business owners to track is video search and Search Console. So this delivers a lot of traffic, and similar to like Google Discover, it is another traffic source that a lot of people are not capitalizing on. So as you can see here, just simply adding videos can surge your traffic in video search. And this is not traffic coming from YouTube. This is traffic coming from Google specifically. Now, in addition to this, something I've learned about video search is that it is localized. So like if you're searching for garage door repair, for example, in video search on Google, you will see different results based on where you're located. So if you're searching in California, you get a different set of results than if you're searching in Phoenix, Arizona. So there's a lot of opportunities here if you're like, oh, I can't compete with these national companies that are doing all these awesome videos. You can, because it's localized. So that's a really big plus for small businesses. Another reason why I feel like a lot of small businesses aren't focusing on videos yet is because they don't realize how present they are in Google searches, because it's mostly mobile. So the majority of videos that we see displayed in the search results are not showing really so much on desktop, it's on mobile. So as you can see here, sometimes on the left, Google actually displays videos pulled in from YouTube. But if you look to the right, these are videos that actually show up directly on the search results. And when you click on it, it takes you to the actual website where the video is present. So it's not taking you to YouTube, it's taking you to the business website. So having videos embedded on your page will help that. The other thing with videos to keep in mind is that we found they don't really help with ranking. So if you're thinking like, oh, I need to add videos to my page because it'll help me rank higher, based on our testing and also testing that other people have done, we haven't seen any direct correlations there. But users love videos. So like if you're investing in social media, or again, trying to up the conversion rate on your website, this is just some stats from our own social media profiles recently, as we've kind of upped our video game. It's up a lot. So the engagement rate for videos is really high. So another reason why you want to consider having a strategy moving into this year. For messaging, to try and highlight this, I'll tell you a personal story, a fun one. So I have 3 small children, and one of the fun things about having small kids is, we get the flu in our house every winter. So we had the stomach flu this winter, which was just lovely. And, it goes through my kids, and my 8-year-old decided to throw up in her van. So at night, I'm sitting around, I'm like, I gotta find a company to come detail my van, like ASAP. And I'm searching around on Google trying to find a company that does detailing. And a bunch of businesses actually had like Google messaging enabled. So I'm like messaging them. Nobody's responding. This one guy I find has a text option on his website. And he was like the only one that was doing this. So I text him, and it was, I don't know, about 7 p.m. at night. He responded very quickly, like within probably 15 minutes. He was able to come out the next day. This simple little button that he had on his website that allowed me to text him, because I didn't want to call people at 7 p.m. Again, I'm not sure if they're open. It comes back to kind of a few things. People like to text, right? You have to meet your customers with the medium that they want to use. And small business owners really, really don't get this. I can't tell you how many home service companies I message on Facebook that are like, can you call us? I'm like, if I wanted to call you, I would have called you. Like, I messaged you on Facebook because that was the platform I wanted to use. And again, like, businesses don't seem to get this, but if you are running a business or advising businesses, if you happen to be that one, like this guy, that gets it, it is a huge up on your competition. It's great for conversions, obviously another huge win, and it's easy. Like, it's not something that you have to invest thousands of dollars in. Putting a little text option on your website and making sure that somebody actually can respond to those is a really huge game changer. And there's tons of studies that kind of back that up. Content is a fun one because, as people have already mentioned, there's nothing right now that is more buzzworthy than AI content. Everybody's talking about it. I've already had clients that have messaged me and like they want to write AI content on their site. They're like, oh my gosh, I can spin out 5 pages of content in 5 minutes when it used to take me, 4 hours to write this or pay you guys to write it. My prediction for this year is I think AI is great, but I also think it's going to make SEOs very lazy. And I think that there are going to be a lot of companies that are going to see this as like, ooh, scalability. I can pump out content really fast and with very minimal effort. And there's going to be a lot of that. The problem with AI content is that it is not authoritative and it's wrong a lot, right? Like, so for this example, you ask OpenAI what a good local SEO strategy is. And I think Craig already actually showed this example, but like the things they're listing, if this is your SEO strategy, I can say with great confidence that it's not really going to help you rank. It's some basic stuff, but like making a website mobile friendly, it's great for users, but not really going to help you ranking. So there's a lot of that. And this is where it's like Google added the extra E into their whole EAT thing, which is experience. So as somebody that has experience with local SEO, I can tell you right now, like, this is a stupid SEO strategy. Like, if this is what you're going based on, it's stupid. But if I was writing content using this on my website, again, OpenAI doesn't know what a good local SEO strategy is for a dentist in the same way that, any of the people on this panel would know from experience. So the experiencing factor, I think, is huge and something that small businesses really need to lean into, because you have the experience and you have the expertise and you need to be better than the AI content. So I think it actually brings a lot of opportunities, as your competitors may rely on this as like kind of an easy strategy. I think that this is a huge opportunity for small businesses to just get their case studies and their experiences out there, and be that experience that Google's kind of looking for. And this is another reason why videos are so great. AI cannot do videos. So, if Google is looking to combat all of the generated content that is just regurgitated crap out there that we're probably going to see in the next year, videos is a good way to combat that, because so far as I know anyways, this bot can't create videos. One of the things that we have found, like just tactically that works, if you're trying to figure out like, how do I get my expertise out there? Sometimes giving away your secrets is the best way to do this. So I've had this conversation with clients and say, like, if you're a plumber, talk about the actual things that you do to fix a toilet. Some people might be like, oh, that's like counterintuitive. Like, why would I want to do that? Or if you're a law firm, like actually go through the steps of showing somebody how to get a divorce, like how to file a divorce themselves. Are they going to want to do it? Probably not. Like, when they see your long lists of how to file for divorce, probably not going to want to do it themselves. But if you're holding on to too much and not actually sharing, likeliness is one of your competitors will just do it. So this is actually an example of a page that does just that. They actually took their service and put a whole page out there, how to get that service for free elsewhere. And it sounds nuts, right? When you first think about it, like, why in the world would you do that? this is one of their top converting pages. It's kind of nuts, but at the same time, people do understand that when you have a price tag, there is a sense of quality there and you get what you pay for. So I've seen so many cases like this where content that actually drives conversions is content that initially you're kind of scared will hurt if you give it away. The other thing that I've also found, and kind of similar about cost, keywords are huge. This is something that I have to usually really try and pull out of small businesses when I'm talking to them. They don't really want to list their prices. Like, nobody really wants to do this. They're like, oh, I want people to call me. We're not the cheapest. I'm like, again, people realize that you get what you pay for. I think the average consumer mostly knows that, at least a good number of them do. And we've seen, again, time and time again, cost keywords don't just deliver an insane amount of traffic, because not a lot of people are doing it, but they will also drive a lot of conversions. So listing your prices is not always a bad thing. And we've seen this in multiple different industries, lots of different small business types that are capitalizing on this.
Joy, 3 minutes to go.
Sure, I'm done. I ended early. So basically, these are the three kind of takeaways that I would say going in. And I wouldn't be afraid to use OpenAI. We are using it here like crazy to help us assist with tasks. So things like writing title tags, I've asked it to make title tags catchier, or help writing like regex codes for Search Console, things like that. There are lots of good ways to use AI. I would caution you though, if you were looking at spinning out a lot of content written by AI, that scares me. I don't want to be sitting around with the next core update if that was my site.
Thanks, Joy. That was another great presentation. Banu, if you can request it, it'll work.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And this is so exciting. So everyone who joined in, first of all, thank you, Greg, Mike, and Joy for joining. What I will be talking about is logistic of operationalizing some of these awesome things, right? So images are great, but how do you operationalize it? How do you make sure as you are scaling it for thousands and thousands of locations, you know which image is racy and what is the quality, because it has to be based on data. It cannot be based on our perception. So to me, Local 3.0 has pivoted from local listing to all of this, and not going to go through all of this because a lot of our speakers already covered, but local is much more than local listing. It's about experience, it's about engagement, and it's about conversion. But conversion is not going to happen if other tools are not going to happen. So, and the local journey has changed so much in the last 20 years. It used to be a very linear funnel, but now it's people are consuming information based on your audience type. There are various channels where local consumer or your customer is approaching you, like Joy just said about plumber. And it's really critical for us as a business owner to think about all the touch point and connect that journey, right? So it's really not about which channel I should be, but it's about where is my customer? What are they looking for? What is their intent? And how I'm going to stitch all of this together. And if I'm multi-location, how I'm going to scale it. So there is a process in place to curate what I'm doing and also measuring impacts. So here are some use cases I'm going to try to show. I did talk about a lot of these trend last month, but now we are kind of relating these trends to local customers when it comes to multi-search, omni-channel experience, helpful content. So let's think search today. Search today is not content. It's so good to see Mike talking about vision search, and it's search today is so much about images, so much about your PDFs, your videos, and so on. And it's important to kind of think about that. How do we make these assets? I don't even say images. These assets discoverable. If they are centralized, they're optimized. So I kind of put in a very simple way to categorize this process. Number one, most critical thing for businesses is let's not do same thing 30 times. Let's centralize your most critical images. Avoid a lot of lifestyle images because of what Mike explained. And then think about optimizing and discovery, and a very simple process of centralizing images, centralizing videos, centralizing PDFs, and so on, or infographics, and every sort of assets you have before we think about all the channels and all the touch points. And then once you have done the centralization, then using Vision API, you think about the quality. I think one of the questions somebody asked is, how do we know the quality? Quality is not what I perceive as a quality. It's what Google Vision API and various open API gives you as a quality. And then think about the discovery, because if you have a phenomenal image, but it's not discovered, then it is not doing us any good, right? So really think about discovery and building all of this as part of your product, as part of your ecosystem. So, so whatever image you put in, it's available, is discoverable, is qualitative, and it's helping you, right? Second thing, I think a lot of, Joy talked about videos, and yes, video is a huge opportunity, but there is a lot of logistics which goes with video. That how do you create it? Where do you host it? Should it be on YouTube? How do you make them discoverable? How do you make sure these videos are curated videos? And one of the things we've been testing on, and something we are thinking of, we are going to be releasing shortly, is how do you take your awesome images and just create videos on a fly and distribute? Because as you're creating FAQs, you want to make sure that these FAQs can be tied, can be married with relevant videos which are discoverable, right? And even though it looks simple, it's a tall order, because that's where we are going to get the most, bang for our buck conversion, which I think a lot of us talked about. Now, moving from multi-search into experience, how do we actually focus on experience? Because experience is critical. And I think Joy talked about, a lot of your, don't be shy in giving information. Absolutely. One of the things we tested a couple of years back, and I've been talking about entity search, really making sure your page is topical, right? This is one of my favorite example, one that literally ask your front desk staff what exactly people are asking. Go into schema vocabulary, understand what are the relevant schema for your vertical, for your location, and then think about creating some awesome content and tie it with relevant FAQs. And as you are doing relevant FAQs, then you also attach them with discoverable images and discoverable videos, making sure that you have your location pages discoverable top of the funnel. And it does magic if we are doing it well. But if these pages are sitting and they are not discoverable, then we are just adding more noise in the ecosystem. Now, another thing we are going to, I know I'm rushing through some of these slides, but another thing I'll talk about briefly is helpful content. There are so many buying movements, and what's really considered as a helpful content? Absolutely, AI is there. Helpful content is something where you are producing content for every single micro moment for your customer, whether those are events, whether those are FAQs, or so on. So here is an example of how you can understand all your audience, curate all the questions, and then absolutely use moderation if you are leveraging questions which are generated across all the channel, and then push it through all location, right? So this is one way of creating a database for all your FAQs, whether those FAQs are coming from GSC. I'm a very big fan of GSC FAQs because you get some awesome information of what my customer is looking for, and then pulling all of those, curating them, making sure you have awesome response, and then pushing it across all channels, not just one channel, across all channels. And we have done for a lot of big banks and a lot of different multi-location businesses, and it does wonder when you do it right to ensure, right? So key is creating that experience, but doing it at scale and making sure we curate what we are kind of sharing with customer. Another example is localization, right? So a lot of things everybody talked about is how do we make sure your experience is localized? And this is something, in Milestone, I'm super proud of. It's something we honestly launched like 12 years back, but it has gone through a lot of iteration, that how do you make local experience so phenomenal for businesses, where you are putting local events, you are putting local images, but you're always adding structured data to make sure they are discoverable. So here is an example of events where you can display all the events and make sure they are discoverable. With that, I am gonna just browse through some of the things on reporting, which is super critical too, because local is not about people who come to your site. I know a lot of folks talked about conversion. Local is also about what's happening to your GMB health, you versus competition, what's happening to multi-location you're listing, but it's really not that much about accuracy, but do you have enhanced information about your business, about your images, your FAQs, your keywords, your videos, and so on. And then what kind of insight you are looking at when, who is coming to your site and how you are customizing that experience across all the location. And with that, last thing is engagement is super critical. And what we realized is, based on the market, there are different trends, there are different information you get, and it's important to analyze which post is really working and what graphics are really working. With that, I am gonna close. I know I'm kind of over time. Key takeaway, trying to just simplify. Most important thing, no. Let's figure out where is your customer, who's your customer, what is their customer journey, what are their touch points. Number two, search is not about text search anymore. It is about images, it's about video, it's about every single thing your customer, every single channel your customer is consuming. So search is multi-search. Last is consistent experience truly matters. If you are a multi-location business, integration and scale is the key. Less is more. It's not more is good. So less and focus effort is super critical. And last is conversion, measuring impact, what is truly working, because there is so much noise. It's so enlightening to see somebody like Mike talk about image search or Joy talk about video search. They are local expert. We are not talking about, UNAP consistency anymore. It is a new definition. With that, we have few minutes. We can open it up for question. Go ahead, Eric.
Sure. And while we're getting your questions into the Q&A or taking them from the chat, I want to offer everybody here in the audience the chance for us to do a free local audit for you. If you would like a local audit, you can email us at that email address, or you can go to the request audit URL, and we would like to help you with that. I'd also like to share with you that our date for Engage 2023 is going to be July 31st and August 1st. And it's going to be in Las Vegas, and we would love to have you come out and experience the event with us. We had a great event last year, and we'll have more great speakers and more great topics this year. So how are we looking on questions? We have some good questions in there?
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of questions. I've been trying to answer some questions, and then I think there's been some question answering in the chat.
All right, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yep. So let's do this kind of lightning round. So first question, store with multiple locations. Do you need multiple product images for each product, a different photo for each location, despite it being the same product? In other words, can you use the same product image across locations? Either Mike or Joy.
So product imagery is sort of less critical when it's specifically associated with a SKU. You don't need multiple images of the same product for sure, but you do need images of different products for sure. The issue in the GBP is to have the different product images reflect the range and type of products, as opposed to when if you're uploading your inventory, there the image is probably going to be a stock image for that particular SKU. But in general, you want to reflect the range of products so that Google understands that you carry cameras and lenses and tripods, etc.
Quick question for Joy. Somebody's asking about adding videos to websites. They're concerned about site speed. How can we do this without impacting site speed?
Yeah, so it's always going to take a little hit on your site speed. My recommendation would just be, embed a video from YouTube, single video on a page. Usually you have more site speed issues when you have 3 or 4 videos on the same page. I wouldn't worry whatsoever if adding a video slows your speed down slightly. We've found, especially for small businesses, that site speed is such a minor impact on anything like conversions or ranking, unless your site is insanely slow.
A question about adding a text function. You were talking about in your anecdote about the value of text messaging, text function to a website. Are there any plugins? Go ahead.
You don't need a plugin. It's a simple HTML code. I'll throw it in the chat because I got it from my colleague Carrie when I saw that question come in. If you're looking for a kind of paid service for this, I'll give a big shout out to Leadferno, who's started by the founder that founded Gather Up with Mike, Aaron Wyke. They do an awesome job at creating a widget that works with texting, and it's really cool, but does cost some things. But I'll put the HTML code in the chat that you can use.
I guess
last question.
We still have a couple of questions, but we'll do one more question that is pretty straightforward here. Explain the difference between alt and meta tags, how they help for search when you're uploading content.
Who do you want to answer?
Like alt text?
Anybody that can answer that. Joey? Yeah.
Alt text has a minor impact on ranking. We did a test to see if it impacts local pack rankings, and I say minor, it wasn't you're gonna shoot through the roof, but it did make a small dent. Well worth doing, not just for that, but also for literally for the reason why alt text exists, which is people that use screen readers and whatnot. You want to be able to make sure they can understand your site as well. So definitely worth doing.
All right.
I'll just take 30 seconds. I think alt text is also good for vision search, because again, if it's done right, because that does help in terms of discovery of right images.
Thank you. I want to thank our panelists today for joining us and providing such a wonderful breadth and depth of content. I want to thank the audience for joining us, and we hope to see you at our next webinar, which will be next month, and we hope to see you at Engage in July. We will be sending out the video and the deck to everybody who registered, and we will send out any questions that we didn't answer here. We will address offline. Thanks so much, and see you again next time.